viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Keep fans. Time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
Is locked and loaded and ready to go. And Ira, I am wearing a 2006 championship hat here. And I'm doing it because, back then what they did was they put together a bunch of veterans. Well, I'm expecting a veteran here in the next couple of weeks to join this team. So I can get another one of these hats that says 2024, 25. What would it be? 25, right? It would be 25. No, 24.
24.
24. So I am expecting one of these, Ira. What the hell is going on?
Exactly what you and I, through an entire summer of Acura Pembroke Pines report, spoke about. It's all about leverage. It's all about positioning. It's all about creating a tangible threat. The Blazers finally have done that, we think. Because for all the talk of the Toronto Raptors, if Scotty Barnes isn't going somewhere, there is no deal to be made right now for the Portland Trail Blazers for Damian Lillard. For all the talk of the Boston Celtics, unless the Celtics can put something tangible in their deal, it's just a bunch of stuff. What I think has changed, and I know you're discussing this elsewhere also, is this. The one thing that Pat Riley, Andy Ellisberg, Nick Garrison, or no one on the Heat can change is this. If Joe Cronin doesn't want to deal with the Heat, you can't change that. If Joe Cronin doesn't want to leave the impression that he was forced into a corner and is protecting Joe Cronin more than the future of the Portland Trail Blazers, you can't win. The Heat are in the business of basketball. The Heat are in the business of creating winning. The Heat are in the business of working with 29 other teams. Even after they tell Danny Ainge to STFU, they still talk to him on deals. There's still a working relationship there. For as all the rivalries they might have had with the Knicks and other teams, if there's a deal to be made, Pat Riley's not going to sit back and saying, I can't deal with the Celtics, I can't deal with the Lakers. You make a deal. But Joe Cronin put himself in a position that if it looks like he takes even a better deal from the Heat, it looks like he capitulates. And this is why when I spoke to you, Orlando Alzugaray, last week, I said someone above Joe Cronin has to go to him in Portland and say, hey, what's the best deal on the table for our team? What makes the most sense for our team getting stronger, our team getting younger, our team making it look like we take care of our players? Put that all together, then tell me what the best deal is or isn't. I think right now Joe Cronin is playing defense for Joe Cronin.
Okay, but leverage, there is no leverage. There are no teams that have offered anything for Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, while he can't say it publicly, those teams know he doesn't want to go there anyway. So I understand what you're saying, but you're basically you're all right with a circus at training camp because that's what's next. Because your stubbornness is just going to create more dysfunction. You have put the problem with Joe Cronin is that he doesn't have the balls to actually look in the mirror and point at the person that's actually at fault here, which is him.
Correct.
He's not willing to take responsibility for his failures. His failures were he didn't build a winner around Damian Lillard. Now you don't get to control where he goes. You don't get to send him to a shitty place where he's not going to win a title. He wants to go somewhere where he wants to win a title. So I don't understand the method behind the madness. I really don't.
There could be a deal. There could be a deal. Let's go back to Toronto. If Joe Cronin is willing to take Gary Trent Jr., Precious Achiuwa, Grady Dick, and 2 or 3 first-round picks, not a great deal. But if he's willing to do that, there could be a deal today, tomorrow, on Monday's media day, on Tuesday's first day of camp. There can be a deal. And then if I'm Portland, I'm sitting back, I'm going, okay, let's look at that deal. Let's look at Gary Trent Jr. or Tyler Hero. Who would you rather have? Precious Achiuwa or Nikola Jovic. Who would you rather have? Grady Dick or Jaime Jaquez. Who would you rather have? You go through the deal and you say to yourself, it doesn't seem like you got the best possible deal. I don't think Joe Cronin's looking for the best possible deal. Big O, this is what I think. He's looking for the best possible escape hatch. How do I escape this summer with a deal that saves face if it's not the best deal? And here's the irony. I was thinking about this morning. When you look at Heat players or players linked to the Heat or have gone to Toronto, Alonzo Mourning was traded to Toronto, refused to report. Remember, got a buyout, came here. Goran Dragic went to Toronto, acted out, was told to stay home, eventually received a buyout. Dame Lillard, it could be the same thing. When you're in Toronto, you're north of the border, you take a certain degree of chances. And I think what Toronto will always lean on is this. Kawhi Leonard. Yes, he only stayed for 1 year. We lost DeMar DeRozan and draft picks, but we got our championship. It could be Masai Ujiri is simply saying, I'm going all in on 1 year.
Yeah, I just, again, but Toronto has to know he doesn't want to be there. So why are you going to make that deal? You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call his agent and say, hey, we're going to trade for a client. And the agent's going to go, yeah, and
if
do you
I'm
really want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? You know,
here's the difference.
You know what I'm saying? I just, this doesn't make any sense.
Damian Lillard is a good guy. Damian Lillard has never acted out publicly. This is the contrast to Jimmy Butler in Chicago, certainly in Minnesota, to a degree in Philadelphia, where Jimmy knew how to act out. Like my wife asked me, she says, like, what could Damian Lillard do to force the hand to go in one direction? I go, I'll tell you exactly what he could do. Show up the first day of practice, keep his Rolex on, take the 4 worst players on the Blazers, say, we want to play the starters, I'm going to kick your ass, walk right off and do an interview with Rachel Nichols. It's like Jimmy Butler did in Minnesota in that clown show he created in Minnesota. A week later, he's dealt to Philadelphia in a reasonable package from Minnesota to Philadelphia. He can do that, but that's not Damian Lillard's personality. Here's the deal. He's too good of a guy. I asked someone, how does Dame change the calculus? And the answer was either he pulls a Jimmy Butler or he doesn't. So now we're waiting to see what happens. We know that Damian Lillard has his people. We know that Chris Haynes is one of his guys, Mark Spears to a degree, his agent Aaron Goodwin has other people. Sam
Adebayo is one of his guys.
What I'm just saying is he has to get this message out somewhere. You know what, Big O? As we get closer to critical mass, if you would have asked me, when are we going to hear again from Damian Lillard? I would have told you a week before training camp. Right. We're here today as I talk to you. I would have told you a week before media day. That was Monday. So we're less than a week to media day. I don't think Damian Lillard is going to act out because as much as
I do.
When?
Yes.
When,
yes.
Big O?
When the shit hits the fan.
And
when they're trying to really trade him somewhere that is in Miami,
okay,
that's what the agent will send out to Chris Haynes and everybody else. Hey, I don't know, but this is not a good situation for Toronto. They're going to be acquiring a guy that doesn't want to be there. And then that stuff will start to, fester and all that. I think he will because you see, the difference is your career is on the line. You're at a point where do you want to keep going? Hey, a couple years ago, I said, do I want to keep working in this hell? And I said no. And I made sure I created an environment so I can get the hell out of there. Okay? And I did it. And they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Okay, Big O, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
By the way, I'm headed to Vegas for the 3rd time in 18 months. Thanks a lot.
Okay, can I interrupt you for 1 second? God bless the empire you've created. Our good friends at Acura, Pembroke, Pines, and elsewhere.
Just freedom. Freedom. No empire.
But if you were due $200 million over the next 4 years, would you have walked away from that? Come on, Big O. $200 million.
I'm Damian Lillard. My money's guaranteed. I'm going to get it from anybody. I have all the leverage in the world, more than Joe Cronin, more than Pat Riley combined. I am the king. I am Damian Lillard. I can tell you, F you. I don't want to play for you. You want to pay me $300 million for not paying for you? They're not going to do that. No billionaire in the NBA wants to acquire a $300 million sourpuss. So Damian Lillard has all the leverage here, not the Heat, not Joe Cronin. So I think he will raise hell because his career is on the line. And his friend, Bam Adebayo, because I've seen these videos, those two are, wow, I got to learn how tight they are. Now, those guys are close. He wants to play here. He wants to win here. He wants to finish his career here. I think he will raise the hell, but it'll be in a professional manner. It'll be circumvented through other ways. It won't be T.O. doing sit-ups. It won't be Jimmy, but not that kind of loud way. He'll do it in a more classier way, like some people know how to do things like that they kind of do it in a classier way, and they still send the same message. He has to, Ira. His career is on the line. You don't want to go somewhere else where you have no shot at winning another title
he's not fully control of the situation. He can be a puppet master. He can be a puppet master and try to. But once the Blazers trade him, their hands are washed. They move on. You'd agree. So then it's the acquiring team or the team that's taken that risk. The one thing about the NBA, maybe more so than any other sports, but honestly the same as most sports, the ego at the top is such that these people, whether it's a Pat Riley, whether it's a Masai Ujiri, feel once we get this done, we can make it work. Many times it does work. It worked with Kawhi Leonard. Other times it doesn't. Like I said, when Zoe was traded from the New Jersey to Toronto, he didn't report. He got bought out. Goran Dragic showed up, said, I don't want to be here. A week or two later into the season, they sent him home. I get that. At other times, they do seem to make it work. I'll give you an example. This offseason, the Dallas Mavericks' backs were against the wall. They had no other option other than to keep Kyrie Irving. They gave him the house, almost the maximum this offseason. You can say Mark Cuban's out of his mind for doing that.
Yes.
But Big O, the point I'm trying to make here is that's the ego. The ego is that I'm Mark Cuban. I'm the guy who goes on TV every week and tells people what they could do with their business on Shark Tank. I'm going to do this also. That's the ego of the business. Whether it's the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens and the legacy of Red Auerbach saying, hey, once he sees the green, once he sees the banners, once he sees the retired numbers, once he sees his number will go up there also, we're going to make it work. Whether it's Masai Ujiri, and I don't know if you've been to Toronto before or not, Big O, but it might be the best city in North America.
It's awesome.
It is fantastic. It is ethnically and racially accepting of everyone and anyone. It's a great place. So Masai Ujiri might be saying, you know what? Once you show up here, you won't want to leave because we have a fantastic place that will embrace you, as almost all Toronto players have said during their tenures. So what I'm saying is the ego of the acquiring might be even bigger than the ego of Damian Lillard. These guys think they have it all figured out. And look at Pat Riley's school for wayward men, right? So many guys, even you might have said to me over the years, be honest, ahead of time, man, is Riley going to make it work with Mason? Is Riley going to make it work with Shaq out of shape? Is Riley going to make it work with some of these guys?
We said that early. We said that early on, and then we never stopped. We never said that ever again.
But I'm just saying, so there was a doubt there, and Pat Riley said he could make it work. That's what I would call this entire thing to me is predicated on the ego of the acquiring. And the ego of the acquiring, I think, is such that they'll say, let's just make the deal. We'll make it work after. It might not make sense to you or me or Dame Lillard or Aaron Goodwin, but to the acquiring team, it might, especially in a place, not so much Boston, but Toronto, where they know they're not going to get free agents.
Although, by the way, their economy is worse than ours. Just watch it. No. So going to Canada, because I went to Quebec and Montreal recently. Brother, I mean, shit is expensive over there, man. I mean, it's out of control. I mean, you think it's bad for us? It is worse in Canada. It's actually worse in Central and South America, too. There's way more economies doing worse.
Except all the Raptors contracts are guaranteed in American dollars, so Dame Lillard won't have to jingle around a bunch of loonies and toonies in his pocket instead.
That is true. That is good. That is that makes a lot of sense. All right. So where's the percentages at that he ends up In
50-50 at best. 50-50 at
Portland to
best.
start, in Portland, Toronto, or Miami, what's the percentages?
I'd say it's 50-50 that there might not be a trade by the start of camp or that he arrives at Miami in both situations. And you know what, Big O? I am being impacted by the bluster. Maybe you're standing strong there in your studio there and saying, it's a bunch of BS, which I wrote about last week. But you know what? As you move closer and you hear the permutations and you see what teams might or might not put forward, you say to yourself, there are other deals. The one thing I thought at the start of this process, and again, you know me, I'm an emotional softie. Wait
a minute, hold on a second.
Okay.
Let me run this by you.
Sure.
The people talking is Joe Cronin and the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard and his agent are not talking. The Heat doesn't talk.
Never talk, right.
Exactly. So if two of the three parties aren't talking and all of this bluster's coming out, it's coming out of one guy's hole that is just a gas bag, and the other two that matter in substance, but the Heat don't play this game of shooting out rumors and all that kind of stuff. And Dame has been kind of strong. So to me, all this stuff doesn't have any substance because the other two parties aren't really contributing to this whole thing. And so I just have a hard time. That's why I still think when it's all said and done, there's a lot of barking and there's going to be no biting from Portland in the end. In the end, the doggy is going to realize he has to sit down, relax, and be a good boy and do what you're told. Trade Damian Lillard. I disagree with you here. I am not worried because I'm not hearing from the other two parties.
But what I am doing is I'm analyzing what's actually being put out there now as this, Big O. Does it make sense? Well, if Scotty Barnes is included from Toronto, it does make sense from a Portland standpoint. If Portland can get draft choices, can get an expiring contract of DeMar DeRozan that they might be able to flip from Chicago, it could make sense. If they can get Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and Rob Williams and 4 first-round picks from Boston, it might make sense. So I'm not buying the bluster. I'm buying the possibilities of there are other deals. And Big O, the one thing, and I know you have Anthony Chang on also, and I know you follow a lot of out-of-town guys and have them on your show here, is the fact that when you look at this situation, you could at least say, we don't know what the Heat really are offering. We don't, Big O. I wish I could be, I'm Heat guy and I know it because I got listening devices at 601 Biscayne. I don't know. I don't know if they're offering 3 picks. Are they offering Jovic?
First organization a crack, bro.
Right. Are they offering Jaquez? Are they offering Jovic? Are they offering Caleb Martin? In other words, if I think, and I spoke to you about this, Portland is smart. They're doing this. We want everything. We want a package of 3 first-round picks, Tyler Hero, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez, Caleb Martin. When you're ready to offer that, come to the table. For those just listening, Big O just gave the finger. I think to Joe Cronin, not to me. I'm not so sure anymore.
You can't do the Knicks Denver deal again. You can't do that shit, bro. You can't trade for Melo and then Melo gets there and you traded the whole team.
You can't do the Rudy Gobert trade from a year ago. Big O, you can't do the Rudy Gobert trade.
Team as it is. The way they're constructed right now, they have every chance to get to the finals again because they've done it twice already. So you don't trade that many pieces. You trade you can trade, and
So I'm saying that's the whole thing. There is a pool of tangible players who can be traded by the Heat: Jaquez, Jovic, Martin, up to 3 first-round picks, Tyler Hero. It's a very nice pool. How the hell, Big O, can you not even at least discuss it? Now the Heat might say, "Oh, we're not doing all of that," but Portland can say, "Okay, we want these 4 elements." And the Heat can go, we'll give you these 3 plus this. That's what a negotiation is all about. Instead, Joe Cronin doesn't want to come out and looking, that guy capitulated to the Heat. This is all about ego in the wrong place. No one who watches this Acura Pembroke Pines report or watches the NBA gives an absolute rat's ass about how the executives come out looking. They care about how the teams come out looking. There's a deal to be made if they come to the table, or else there's still games to be played.
All right. What are you working on in the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
You know what? I'm moving forward because I've reached the point where I'm like, I'm a week away from camp. So we're running our daily series on our heat positional updates. Every day I say who's available at the position, what might happen. Honestly, what might happen if there's a Lillard trade. Yesterday, my point was centers. I said, hey, they got Bam Adebayo, but who's the backup center? We saw Dwayne Dedmon, didn't work. God bless Cody Zeller, didn't work. So now you come into the season. Is Thomas Bryant the answer? Could Orlando Robinson move up? Or I think, could Kevin Love be the backup center to keep the mileage down on him so he doesn't have to start 82 at power forward? That was yesterday. Today, posted online and at your doorstep tomorrow, power forward. Did the Heat stay with Kevin Love? Did Kevin Love basically say, I'll take a minimal contract, but I want playing time? Or did the Heat move back to Caleb Martin, which arguably was more successful during the regular season? I know you want to stay Big O. I understand that. And then the wild card of the offseason. This Nikola Jovic kid's not that bad. Maybe not a starter, but minutes. Maybe it's time to clear some minutes for Nikola Jovic just to see what he has. He's a possibility. Then you have Haywood Highsmith, who had some moments in the playoffs also. So I'm going position by position. There were questions. And you know what? For as much as Andy Ellisberg and Pat Riley are dealing with trades, Eric Spoelstra and his staff are sitting there saying, this is what we have now. How do we win with this? And you know what? This is a roster with very, very good versatility. And this, to me, is what Mike McDaniel did when he said, you can talk all you want about Dalvin Cook, but I've got to find a way to make Mostert and the rest of our guys a workable combination, which he did. I think it's the same situation. Eric Spoelstra would say, fine, if Damian Lillard arrives, I'll put a plan together. If not, I have enough to make it work right now. The Eric Spoelstra, almost infamous, we have enough. I am sure if you catch him at Publix this afternoon, Big O, he would tell you that.
He's already been through it in the Bosch years. It was basically Hell's Kitchen for him, and he was having to make up all kinds of different meals all the time. So you're thinking Jovic in the power forward spot, correct?
I'm not necessarily saying starting, but I could see.
No. I'm not saying, but this is where I'm leading to.
Sure.
I like the idea of him backing up Love. I like the idea of him hanging around Love. I like the idea of him learning from Love. So if he can back up Love, he can kind of get an education from Love at the same time. And as he gets better, you can alleviate the workload from Love because, let's be honest, now you have him for a whole season. You cheated. You got a fresh Love last year. They didn't use him at all last year. So by the time you got him, his body, now you're going to start him from training camp on. You gotta manage that shit for him. And Jovic might be, or somebody else that you could find. Right. I think it's, I'd love Jovic because he's a young guy and he can learn from him. You know what I mean? And I kind of like, and I think Love would be a perfect guy that he would definitely share his knowledge with that kid. So I kind of like that as a grooming type of thing, that combination.
And as you mentioned, I mentioned that in my story. With Udonis Haslem gone this year, a mentor's going to have to step up. What better than a mentor's a 5-time All-Star who has his own championship ring that he can put forward? I think that factored into the Heat's thinking also. I agree. You cannot burn Kevin Love out over an 82-game regular season schedule and expect a payoff in the playoffs, but you can manage his minutes maybe in the Luke Babbitt type role. He'll start in the first 7 minutes of each half, depending how things go, depending what the need is, whether you go big or go small, and then you move forward from there. But yeah,
key moment at the end of the game, 3-pointer, something like that, put him on the floor.
And the mentor that Udonis Haslem was, because let's face it, Kyle Lowry doesn't seem interested and might not be here. Jimmy Butler marches to his own drummer, I understand. Bam Adebayo is still relatively young and learning on his own. So I think Kevin Love fills and checks a lot of boxes for the Miami Heat. Wrote about that today at sunsentinel.com.
Check it out. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and catch him here doing his thing every week with our Acura Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report. Ira, as always, thank you, my friend. We will catch up next week.
I will yell at you next week from training camp. Thanks, Big O.
Well, hey, man, at home or away, I'm always used to folks yelling at me. Be good, Ira.
Married life.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA Report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's in Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.